I'm on the hunt for lip-smacking ribs. I found some in the heart of Mississippi and some right here in New York. That's right, in the Big Apple. I'm gonna rack them and stack them to perfection. This is gonna be ribalicious. I start in Hattiesburg, Mississippi at Letha's Barbecue Inn, where the pork ribs and beef ribs are cooked in an unusual smoker. Holy wow. I don't know what I was expecting, but I definitely wasn't expecting this. And finished with the top secret sauce. Oh, that looks good. Then it's off to Hometown Barbecue in Brooklyn, New York, where the ribs always score a home run. Man, you said the magic word, ribs. It's a finger-licking mashup of Texas barbecue, Jamaican spices, and Korean-style barbecue. It's savory, it's sweet, it's sticky. That's crazy, yo. What's up?
Hello, hello. Hello. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being here. And people at home and the office. Aren't you supposed to be working? But you can be watching here, and you can. There's a new show page, AOL.com/build, where you can ask a question. Because after I get done asking you questions, these guys and the world at large, the worldwide.
So I'm in the hot seat. This is a hot seat.
Yeah, so, okay, we got a little taste of your show, no pun intended. Tell us a little bit more about how this show was born and what it's about.
Well, it's all about cooking with interesting people, interesting contraptions, and good food, So a lot of people think man-fire food, immediately their head goes to barbecue, and we do cover a lot of barbecue, but we also cover people who are doing fish boils, they're doing clam bakes, they're taking wine barrels and turning them into smokers.
Yeah, what is the interesting contraptions that you've seen cooked with?
Yeah, so, the wine barrel thing is really interesting. They open up the wine barrel, they'll put like hot rocks in the base of it, burlap, seaweed, and do layers of seafood and potatoes and corn. Then they close it all up, close it with wine, with tarps, and the hot rocks are just steaming away the food, right? So that's been cool. We had some people who've done... He's a steel worker, an artist. So he's done like 3,000 pounds of steel and he's turned it into a dragon. So you open the chest and you smoke the meat inside of the dragon. It breathes fire and smoke, like just crazy stuff, It's like 30 feet high.
Now, it's harder than it looks, I know, but what is it? Isn't it hard to actually eat something and then turn to the camera and describe it and emote about it?
I mean, for me, it's easy because I love it. And so I just explain what's happening in my mouth, and I try to think, like, if I'm a viewer, what are they missing from this experience? And I try and just give them that,
What is the one thing you won't eat?
Oh, man, that's a hard one. For a long time, I used to hate cauliflower, but I've kind of got into cauliflower,
Did you decide to cook it yourself in a way that you liked it? Or
no, I started going to a couple restaurants that I liked it, and I was like, maybe it's not so bad, But I know I eat a lot of stuff, man.
Now, this isn't the only show you're on. You're on a number of shows. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I have a show called Everyday Exotic that airs Cooking Channel in a lot of places around the world. Mm-hmm. There's Heat Seekers I did with Aron Sanchez. I've done Iron Chef. I do Chopped Canada, which airs on Food Network in America and other places in the world. So it's been pretty busy with the TV stuff in the last 10 years. Yeah.
How did you get your start? How did the TV thing start for you?
Well, it's interesting. I live in Toronto in Canada, and at that time, Toronto, they used to do a lot of in-house productions at Food Network when it was just launching. And I used to run this very small 40-seat restaurant, and it's a little cutout inside the kitchen. And because they were launching the channel, the executives used to work there night and day. So they used to come around the corner from where they used to shoot was my restaurant.
Oh, no kidding.
So they used to come in there like 3-4 times a week. And so after about a year, I finally found out who Holly was and who all these people were. And they're like, oh, we work with the Food Network. I had no idea,
So all this time you're cooking and out there among these people, they all work. They're all executives that could give you a show, basically.
Yeah, and I had no idea. I just would walk around and be like, hey, what's up? And then I got to know them as like Holly and, and Tanya, and then after about a year, they're like, we come here all the time. We like your food. You seem personable. Come and do some auditions. And I was kind of like the reluctant auditioner for a couple years.
Why? You didn't want to... TV wasn't something you actively went after.
No, not really. I mean, I used to do music full-time for a long time. And I kind of just wanted to have an anonymous life. I've done a lot of that stuff.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, but then I was like, it might be fun. Let's try it out. And it turns out that it's been a lot of fun. We've enjoyed a lot of success with it. And making that transition into TV as a host is one of the hardest things that I've had to do. I thought it would be really easy, but starting out, the learning curve was just so dramatically different.
What surprised you the most about the learning curve? What was
having to look at a camera and treat them like a person? That first really was really, really hard, challenging for me. But we went through it, and here I am, 10 years later, still doing that, right?
Now it's kind of old hat to you. Do you even kind of notice when a camera's around, or are you actively always aware when a camera's on you?
I mean, somebody's calling action usually, so that kind of gives it away a little bit.
But are you able to lose yourself in the moment of what you're doing completely, or do you always want to be kind of aware that there's a viewer you're connecting with, or how does it work for you?
Well, I'm always mindful that there are people out there and they want some information to take away, and they want to be entertained. So at the end of the day, I just make sure that the scenario that we set up, that I'm going to be entertained. Do you know?
Yeah, totally.
So if we're working with the production company, it's like, I'm not really feeling this. Can we figure out a way to make this fun?
Yeah.
And so we set up the scenario, and once the scenario is set, I just have fun,
What when you were a little kid, what was the first sign that you might be a foodie? That you might even pursue it for work?
I grew up in a household. I'm now third generation food and beverage person in my family, right? My grandfather came from China, ended up in the Caribbean. He, after a long time, saved up his money, opened bakeries, restaurants, and then all of his kids started opening restaurants. My dad had a restaurant for 20 years. All my aunts and uncles still in the Caribbean are in that industry. But I remember my aunt asking me, at that time I was still living in Trinidad. My aunt asked me at 3 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? You ask kids that. And I said, I'm going to be a chef. And she started laughing at me, because I didn't flinch, right? She's like, what do you know about being a chef? You know how much hard work that is? I'm like, I'm going to be a chef, And so here it is.
Now, I read somewhere on the internet, and you'll have to, because the internet never lies.
Although I've read some stuff about me that's not true on the internet.
Okay, well, we'll get to that next. It says that you've never cooked the same thing twice. Is that fairly true? I mean, sure, you probably have to do it a couple times for television purposes, but in life, do you generally not cook the same food more than once?
In life, in the restaurants, we always cook the same thing twice because, you like a certain thing a certain way. Your customer expects that. But at home, I don't make the same stuff. I go to go grocery. I see what looks fresh and tasty. I buy that, and I just start cooking and figure out as I'm going, usually,
Is there a food that you think that probably the majority of your viewers have not tried that you think they should try, or an ingredient they should try? Do you think people are stuck in food ruts?
Yeah, people are absolutely stuck in food ruts. What we do at my house, I still do this every single week. I go to the grocery, and I buy one thing that I've never purchased before.
Give me some examples of what they've been.
It could be black salt, smoked salt, spice salts.
Is there a different with black salt?
Yeah, no, because some of those black salts are actually smoked salts, so you can impart that smoky flavor without having to light a fire, right?
Okay.
So there's stuff like that. It might be a kind of a candy I see, a type of a coconut water, a type of pasta. Just something new every week, man. I never know what it's going to be. I just look for something new.
And then you try and incorporate that into what you have.
I just try it, yeah. Sometimes we like it, sometimes we don't. Or, sometimes it's also like coconut, for instance. It comes in so many different forms. So one of my kids doesn't like raw coconut, but they like coconut flakes. Another one likes coconut water, but doesn't like the coconut flakes. Another one likes the coconut jelly, but doesn't like the coconut water or the coconut flakes.
Right.
So there's just so many different ways with one ingredient that you can enter as a new gateway drug. I call it the gateway drug.
The gateway drug. Okay, you were on the Today Show this morning.
Yeah,
you were great. You made chicken strips, chicken fingers, essentially.
Yeah.
What is the kid like? What has it been like introducing food to your kids? They're pretty young and they are adventurous, or are they chicken fingers kind of kids, or what are they like? What's their food culture like?
It really depends. I grew up in a household where you eat what was on the plate, so I do that now with my kids. So whether it's chicken feet, pasta, chicken strips, barbecue ribs, if that's what we're cooking that day, that's what they're gonna eat.
Now, kids are a little different than adults in that they will just tell you they don't like it, maybe. Like, have you ever done something? What is their demeanor towards you?
Oh, that happens all the time.
Yeah? And do they just refuse to eat it?
Well, some of them refuse to eat it. Sometimes they'll try it because you say, look, at least you got to give it a try. And we try and reinforce that. But kids are stubborn, especially
Because you
my
said
kids.
chicken feet a few seconds ago.
Yeah, you go to dim sum,
Which
you get
I
chicken feet.
sent a chill down my spine.
Yeah,
The
you go to
idea of
dim
eating
sum,
a
you get chicken feet,
foot,
right?
I
You
know
get
it's
chicken feet at
cultural,
dim
like
sum,
that you go to the store and you see them. To me, like it's ignorant of me, but I don't want to be able to identify too much
No, I
of the
understand.
foot.
For instance, like tripe. My kids go to dim sum. One of
Tripe?
them loves tripe.
Really?
And that's the 2-year-old. She loves tripe, man. You put that.
You think she really knows what's in tripe?
She doesn't need to know. She likes it. You know, when she gets older, I'll start to teach her and
Explain
understand.
what's in
but she
tripe for
likes
people
it.
who don't know what's
Tripe
in tripe.
is the cow stomach.
Yeah.
So they blanch it to kind of remove some of the stomach acid, and then they steam it with ginger and onions and
Right.
sesame oil. It's really amazing. Man.
And a lot of the foods that people are kind of afraid of today came from a time when you did not throw anything away. Like, that's sheep's stomach. Let's, don't throw that away.
You know what's interesting is we were returning back to that time. You know,
Yeah.
our global population is rising at a rate that is not really congruent with our production. So we're having to find ourselves produce and use everything more than ever once again. So, everything that's old is new, right?
Yeah. You came from a food family. What do they think of your TV career? Do they make fun of you? Because you clearly, I picture your family as one where people make fun of each other a lot. Can you give each other?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
for
kind of
sure.
make fun of you for being the TV guy?
No, they're actually really proud, because we're, like I said, 3 generations deep in food and beverage. When my grandfather started, even when I started, there was no food TV. There was no outlets like this. Magazines weren't focused on food. There was, the odd person here and there like Julia Child who built a career around food, but that was like, there were very few sparks of that, right? Now they've become fans of the network before me being on the network, and now they see me on the network. It's like, wow, that is amazing,
Very
man.
cool.
That's our boy,
What's the one food that if you didn't have to cook it again, ever again, is there one dish that you are just sick of cooking that you would just say, okay, let's put this in the book of things I don't have to cook anymore?
No, I can't say there's anything like that because I don't cook the same thing twice, so it doesn't really happen.
And so how did you, when you transitioned into this new world that you have, like, we talk a lot about building your brand. Was there a change in the way you did business? What's your approach to your brand, to your business, to your career that you would impart to people that are watching?
For me, I just broadened the focus. For a long time, I thought I was crazy, like schizophrenic, because I would do music and I would do cooking. And I do them, both at a high level, right? And I thought, well, it's just kind of weird. They're so different industries. How do I reconcile this in my brain? I walked around like that for a good 10 years, like thinking, I don't know how to reconcile this.
And what changed?
I'm feeling a little crazy. And one day I had a spark, and I realized I'm just in the entertainment industry. So I have a restaurant in the airport in Toronto called Twist by Roger Mooking, right? So whether you come to the airport restaurant, it's about entertainment as much as it is nourishment. If you buy one of my albums, it's about entertainment. If you buy a cookbook, I want it to be entertaining. You watch Man Fire Food, all these shows, I want it to be entertainment. So for me, the moment that I realized that it was just entertainment that I was doing, it all started to come together. And then I just focused everything around that. I tell the team that I work with now and my managers and, everybody, I'm not interested in being a chef brand. Chefing is one aspect of what I do, but I'm as much a musician as I am a chef, as I am an entertainer, as I am a creative recipe developer, as I am a developer of, planning the next 10 years of what my business is. And those are all creative outlets. And it's all under the umbrella of entertainment. And, food and music are the pillars of those things. But, that's branded out cookbooks and restaurants and everything's kind of fell under that,
Tell us about your music. What is your sound? Tell us a little bit. If people want to go find it.
I experiment with a lot of sounds, man. My first solo album is an album called Soul Food I put out in 2008 with Warner. And that album, I was experimenting with soul music. So you'll hear acoustic guitar singing ballads, straight up ballads. You'll hear love songs. You'll hear like hip hop soul. You'll hear something that sounds like Lupe Fiasco, something that sounds like Erykah Badu. And then the last album I did, I had this title in my head called Feedback for like 3-4 years. And to me, the word feedback was just, it had raw edges, but really creamy centers. So it was just about
Kind of centers?
creamy centers.
Creamy. Okay, just
You know what I mean?
yeah, totally.
It was like a Ferrero Rocher, you know?
yeah, exactly.
But it was like raw edges, and sonically it's raw and ragged, but inside are just really deep, rich stories. And that's kind of like more of a straight up hip hop album, but very musical. There's no samples. It's all live instrumentation. And I released an acoustic version of that album last year. And so it's really fun, man.
What is the strangest place you find inspiration, whether it's for a song lyric or a song title or even for a recipe? Where is the oddest place that you find inspiration?
I think the best inspiration always comes when you're not expecting it, you know? Like I do like meditation, yoga, I've done like kung fu, tai chi, all that kind of stuff.
Did you do all these things before you became a TV personality, or did TV drive you to have to do
right
these
around
things?
the time when they were asking me to do auditions?
It
In
helped
that
you-
kind of
it
era,
helped you
for
relax.
about 5 years, I worked with a monk like that, right? And I realized that when the mind is clear and focused on nothing, ideas just flow in. So it's always the time when I'm not in the kitchen, when I'm walking in the ravine, you know, and the mind is open, something just like a bolt of lightning strikes you because you're receptive to what's in the universe, you know, you're able to accept information in a different way.
Now, you talked about you go to the grocery store and you pick out something you haven't had. Are you a food snob, though? Are you like, if you see the aerosol cheese, are you going to be like, no? Or are you be like, are you going to have some of that aerosol cheese? Because I'll be honest, like, I love a good Gouda, but, you know, once in a while, the weekend calls for a good aerosol cheese. Or will you not even go near there?
Of course, everybody has those things like that, you know, like
Not everyone admits it, though.
No, I'll admit it, man. You give me a red box of Pringles and it's a wrap. Like
Absolutely.
that thing is over, man. It's done.
I smell what you're stepping in. so,
But mostly, I like try and be healthful and mindful of health. You know?
Do you think, when it comes to food, do you think people overthink the health movement? Do you think they underthink it? What's your approach to, like, when you're thinking of a good recipe, do you first think what will make this delicious? Or do you think what will make this healthy? Or what's your thought process when you think of something? Or does it vary?
Okay, that's a good question. When it's about recipe development, it's always about what the audience is. So if I'm in the airport, for instance, doing a recipe for the restaurant, I want to make sure, because for years, restaurant food has been so bad in airports.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right? So I wanted to always make sure that with the recipes in the restaurant that it's going to be fresh, it's going to be healthy. I want that customer leaving my restaurant feeling better, not feeling sluggish. So when they get on the plane, it's like the beginning of their adventure or their vacation, and they have a good memory of the restaurant experience, right? Not to say we don't deep fry foods. You know, our highest selling item is fried chicken.
Oh, yeah. Well, fried chicken is delicious.
Right, but we have also a lot of really fresh options, you know, like great salads, sauteed spinach, steamed sweet potatoes with herbs. And
Yeah.
So I try and balance it because I'm trying to cater to all different kind of audiences, right?
Right, because when you're building that menu at the airport, there must be that part of you that says, this will sell better if I drizzle cheese on it. Like, is that kind of gonna
No. To be honest, no. If people want cheesy stuff, you can get cheesy rigatoni like mac and cheese. You can design the menu any way that you want. Just like mix and match, sort of like tapas style.
Do you
So
play
if
your
you want to
music?
go hardcore, greasy, you can do that. You want to be super healthy, you can do that.
Do you play your music at your restaurants?
100%.
Yeah.
It's the only thing in the iPod.
Is there-
I'm just joking.
At the airport, will you play it sometimes?
We got 10,000 songs on there. 50 of them are mine.
If you weren't, well, now we know that probably if you weren't cooking, you'd be doing music full time. If you didn't do,
Actually, no, that's not true.
what would you be doing
I
instead?
used to do music full time, and I found that it was too consuming. And then especially in the industry of music, it consumes you. Then you start to have to find a way to survive in that consumption. And so where you want to be just creative, if it's your only source of income and livelihood, you have to start thinking about the business and your team. And then you lose the fun. So I love the fact that I'm not beholden to anything.
Yeah.
You know, the Food Network can end tomorrow, Cooking Channel can end tomorrow, and I'll be okay. The music can end tomorrow, I'll be okay. And because of that, I can just have fun all the time.
Yeah.
And the business is growing around it all.
Right.
But I think it's just because I'm just genuinely having fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not like starving behind like, oh, I got to make this season work or else, oh my God, it's all crumbling down, right?
If you're creating a recipe that you know will go to the masses, to foodnetwork.com or to your own website or a cookbook, for example, what's the evolution of that recipe? Do you usually feel like you nailed it out of the park, and when you first do it, are you measuring every ingredient? Because it's, I've tried to write down a recipe for something I've done, and it's like, well, did I put in this much or that much? How many times do you have to do it before you know that this is the one that you're sending out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always write recipes. Usually it's by myself. Sometimes I'll have an assistant with me. And as we are cooking it, we're documenting it. So I'm literally like scooping 2 tablespoons and the laptop is right here. 2 tablespoons. Got it. And so I'm tracking everything as we go.
So you have a running tally.
It's a running tally. And then I'll sit down and do the method and all that stuff because I know the method in my head, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I'll track all that down, and if it doesn't taste delicious, I'll scrap it and start again.
That same
I'll do
day,
it until,
do you have a day like today I'm cooking stuff for work?
Yeah, for sure.
So you just know that's
today I'm banging out these 3 recipes, 4 recipes, or the next 4 days I got to bang out these 16 recipes, and I just stay working on it until it's good. Or I do it over 3-4 times sometimes.
Are you able to, or do you ever create a recipe in your head, ingredient by ingredient and like element by element? Can you do that, or do you just like, how do you, when you're not in a kitchen, when you're right here, like after the interview, you think, oh wait, I should try. Do you write stuff down and say this is going to be a recipe later that I'll do, or do you always do it in the kitchen?
Like you said, like right now, when you're not doing the thing that you are trying to do the work for, the best ideas come, right? So I'm always thinking of new things like that. Do I track them? Sometimes I'll just send myself a quick email, 1 or 2 words, maybe 1 sentence of what the idea is. And then later when it's recipe development time, so I'll compile all these like emails of ideas. It's like, okay, which one is good for this application today,
Right.
But it's a never-ending process. Like I live my work. My work is my life with my family and stuff, right?
Are you active on social media?
Yeah. Facebook.
We will find you on. I'm trying to look. It's Roger.
Right, Roger Mooking. It's over there.
Is it behind me? What?
It's over there. Yeah.
Oh, it's right behind you. Okay, so how do you feel social media has helped or has it hurt food? Like, I mean, it seems like taking a picture of food is right up there with taking a picture of your legs on the beach. And I take a lot of pictures of cocktails, like that's because it's what I know. Do you think it has actually helped your business that people are obsessed with taking pictures of food?
I think people on social media are like children in that they're
Guilty,
immediately honest. They'll tell you exactly what they think right now, no holds barred, because they have a voice, right? Does that work in your favor or against you? Sure. Like we get great comments on social media about the restaurant. Sometimes we'll get bad comments. We just respond.
Right.
What we've realized is people just want to be heard. So if we have a bad comment about the restaurant, normally within the hour, they have a response. We're communicating with them. We let them know that we've heard them, that we're addressing the issue with management, which I actually am texting the people in the kitchen like, yo, what's up with the fried chicken? This guy said the fried chicken was blah, 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 within 20 minutes.
And sometimes
I have an
it's
answer.
just that guy's crazy. Like sometimes there are just crazy people who like, to be anonymous on the internet and say your fried chicken isn't good or something. Don't you think like occasionally?
But that's like you may like Kanye West and I may hate Kanye West. They made the same record. Like, so who's right? Because 50 million people are following him on Twitter or, 80,000 people came to his concert. Is he great?
Yeah.
No, it's a personal perception, right? So I take that person's perception because to that person, that is their world.
Yeah.
So whether the fried chicken was great to me or is bad to you, I want to try and make it right for you. We're in the hospitality industry. You have to be hospitable, dude. Like I think people in the hospitality in the industry forget about being hospitable. They're so bogged down in the work.
Yeah.
People just want to be heard. Just answer their questions, respond. And one of my favorite things to do on Twitter is turn people around. Like I had this guy who's like, I hate this guy, Roger Mooking, blah, 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 blah. And I just holler at him, yo, why you hate me?
Well, once they realize you're listening and they're like, I love you, then they suddenly love you.
Yo, and so for instance, there's a guy right now who tweeted me just before this, right? He's like, yo, you're in New York? Oh my God, I was so hyped about that. A year and a half ago, this guy was like my biggest hater.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I turned him out, man. Bam, 10 minutes. Now he's like always on, like, yo, what's going on? You're in New York.
He's watching right now.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hey.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, man. So and I think that that's really powerful
That
to
is
be
cool,
able to
yeah.
do that
Connecting with
on a
people like
one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We have some audience questions that we want to get to, and let's see. Let's see. There we go.
Hi there. So I heard that you want your last meal on Earth to be a hard-boiled egg with soy sauce. I was wondering if that's true, and if so, is there a reason behind that decision?
Yeah, there's two things that I would eat: that and curry crab and dumplings. Hard-boiled to me, hard-boiled egg is just perfect food. Like
How long do you boil them for?
it's so good, man.
How long do you boil your eggs for a hard-boiled egg?
I bring them to the boil. I take it off the heat. I cover it 15 minutes. Pull it off.
So once
cold.
it comes to a rolling boil, you take it off. Because I pickle eggs, and that's how I do it.
Yep.
Yes. A little about
15
me.
minutes
You didn't
flat.
ask, but I
But
told you.
yeah, if you've never had soy sauce and hard-boiled eggs, try it. It's amazing. I've turned people out on that
It's
one
such an
too.
interesting last meal. It's a little modest for a last meal.
You don't need a lot. You're gonna die, bro.
Yeah, but that's the reason to eat a lot for me. That's why I'm going to bring it on. We had another one right next to you. Hi.
Yeah, with the resurgence of fusion cuisine, I was wondering if there is a fusion cuisine you've had that you know is completely unsuccessful, and to pair with that, what is one that you haven't seen that you'd like to see?
Oh, that's a really good question, man. Because everything I do is kind of fusion-y cuisine, right? I think where people go wrong with fusion is my friend Aaron Sanchez says. He says fusion is confusion. And I think a lot of times with that, and I don't disagree with him to a certain degree, I think a lot of times people think, I'm going to make XYZ and put XYZ, B, A, B, C, L, P, Q to the fourth quotient, cosine, like they just complicate things, You can make really simple things mashing up different cultures, like really, really simple things that just add different textures and flavors and profiles. But I think people just try and be too complicated and their ego is involved in it, not the food,
I think we're putting mac and cheese on too many things. Like now mac and cheese is everywhere. There's a whole restaurant here in New York of mac and cheese based dishes. I think it's a little much.
People love
I
mac
like
and
mac and
cheese,
cheese as
though,
much as
dude.
the next
People
guy.
like mac and cheese.
We had another question right in the back there.
Hi, can you talk about your Chinese heritage? Where's your grandfather from? And also, have you thought about going to China to explore the food?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a great question. My grandfather is from the Guangdong province in China, mainland China. There's a Mu village, actually. Mu, my name is Mooking. So Mu, the root is Mao. And Mao is one of the 6 original family names in China, along with Li and I think Qin, and there's a couple others, right? Wu might be one of those. So there's 6 original family names. So Mu at the root is one of those original Chinese names. He's from the Guangdong province. He decided that he wanted to leave around the 1920s. He was looking for the gold rush. He was looking for El Dorado. He literally thought, I'm going to go get some stuff in El Dorado, right? So he left. He ran out of money in the northern tip of Trinidad, and he told the boat captain, look, this is my last penny. Take me to El Dorado, which he believed was in South America, Venezuela area. The boat captain dropped him from the northern tip of Trinidad to the southern tip of Trinidad and said, here you are in South America. And now he has no money. He's stranded there, and he decided to build a life there, and that's how we built a life. And when he came and landed in Trinidad, they looked at his name, because in China, your last name is first. So his name on his passport is Mooking Yun, right? Yun being our equivalent of our first name. So the guy at the passport agency is like, at the border is like, well, what's this Mooking Yun? What's your name? He's like, Mooking Yun. He's like, I don't like that. So he put together Mooking. That's how Mooking came about. It's not actually a name. So any Mookings in the world are my family.
Kidding. Wow. Yeah. That's wild. Nice that you took the liberty of just changing it for you. That's
Yeah,
nice.
but there's a lot of cultures around the world that came to America, came to Canada.
Yeah,
Their names were
capitalized.
bastardized and became a North American version of the root name, right?
Yeah, it's true. Do we have another one here? Okay, you're walking the mic over? Okay. What happened? Okay.
Hi. Hi. So you host, co-host, and have created so many shows. What do you think is next for you? Where would you like to go next?
I don't like to talk about that. I think of all the ideas in my head, I've maybe done about 15% of them, maybe 20% of them. I have just so many ideas, man. Just blessed to be, just receptive to the ideas that are floating around the universe. I think ideas exist in space, right? I'm just tapped. I can pluck them. So I think it's a blessing to be able to be alive, to be able to act on the ideas. So I'm acting on ideas. I've done albums or ideas that have come out that nobody's cared about, or albums or other projects that have come out that have been wildly successful. But I don't treat any of those projects any differently. I put my whole person into them. I put all of my creativity. I build a team around everything and get everybody motivated. And I treat everything the same. So I don't like to talk about it because I think it's kind of like a curse to talk about it before you release it, because ideas are a form of pressure, energy, right? So I think it's really important when you're building ideas to build pressure. And if you start talking about it too much, or planting the seed out there, I'm going to do this in 2 years, look out for that, you start to release the pressure. I want to make that pressure combust. So when we release it, right?
Well, what one piece of advice would you give to people out here who have a lot of ideas and want to pursue those dreams, like the ones that you had when you first started out? Any advice you'd give them?
First, filter. I think it's important to be able to filter your ideas and be humble. Step back on a third level and look at it at 30,000 feet and say, okay, in today's landscape, does this make sense? For what I love to do, does this make sense in my life? Because even if it doesn't fit into today's landscape, if you're really passionate and you really believe it, you can transfer that passion to other people. And really, that's how Steve Jobs built Apple. It's just one at a time. You got Steve Wozniak, then Steve got some people, and then some other people. Now there's 600 million iPhones on the planet.
Right.
But that just happens because he's passionate.
Yeah.
And he starts to treat that spark, and he watches the landscape and understands how to plug that passion into the landscape, right?
Well, thank you very much, Roger. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Roger Mooking.